Hello and welcome to the course on C Programming Learn to Code series. This is the 7th lecture of Unit 2. If you remember, in the last 3 lectures, that is your 4th, 5th and 6th lecture, I have shown you how to install a compiler. So in our case, we have installed MinGW, which is a GCC compiler for Microsoft Windows operating system. And I have also shown you how to execute a C program using that MinGW GCC compiler. Finally, in the last class, I have shown you VS Code, that is Visual Studio Code, which is actually used to edit your program. Okay, and I have shown you also how to execute that program using VS Code. What are the extensions that need to be added to VS Code that we have already discussed in lecture 6. So I recommend you should follow those 3 lectures, that is 4, 5, 6 serially. Then you come here and you will be getting this lecture very much easily. This lecture is actually prepared in a theoretical manner, means what is the theory behind, means what is the approach for writing a C program, means what are the different steps you should follow while you are writing a C program and what is actually happen in the behind. Okay, so let's begin. This will be helping you in your examination. Sometimes the question may come how to execute a C program, explain with a with a proper diagram. Then you have to answer the question something like this. Okay, so let's begin. So I will first trying to tell you approach to execute a C program, means suppose you are thinking that I am going to write a C program and I am going to execute that C program, then how to proceed for that. Okay, so developing a C program requires at least 4 steps. Here the step spelling is mistake, STEP must be there. Well, so there will be 4 steps. So what are the steps? One is called editing, and second one is called compiling, third one is linking, and fourth one is executing. So what do you think, what do you mean by editing? So editing means you have to write the code, means you know C programming language, how to write a program. Then you start downloaded an editor. If you don't want to download any editor from the internet, you may have some editor like your Notepad or Notepad++ already installed in your computer. So for the sake of writing the program, you need an editor. So that step is actually included in editing part. Then you need a compiler. After writing that code, you have to compile it. So a compilation step must be there. And finally, linking phase is there. What is linking phase? I will explain it with a figure that is already given in the coming slide. So wait for that. Then finally we have to execute it. Okay, so these are the basic 4 steps that are going to be followed while I am writing a C program. And the execution steps or the flow is something like this. Okay, so here you can see we have to first choose a text editor. Now the question is, what is a text editor? So text editor is something like Notepad. You all have gone through this Notepad in your Windows operating system machine. When you install Windows operating system, a Notepad file is automatically installed. There you can type something and store it. So that Notepad is nothing but it is acting as a text editor. So by using that Notepad also, you can write your C codes or C programs. This is a part of a C program, is the structure of a C program that I have shown here. If you don't understand this, it is also okay. It is just for the sake of understanding, means it is just sake of showing the flow of execution of a program. So you have to use a Notepad as a text editor, or you may use Notepad++. You have to download it from the internet, or you can use like VS Code that we have already discussed about it in the previous lecture. So VS Code is Visual Studio Code. Here also you can use this particular editor for writing your C program, or you can use your code block. Code block is also a text editor, and you can also use dev C++. Okay, dev C++. So those are the different editors provided by different companies. You can download those. Something is already present in your machine, and you can write your program. These all are, I am talking about, these all editor that I have talked about, all are related to your Windows machine. If you are a Linux machine, so don't worry about that for installing any of these softwares, because GCC compiler is already built in the Linux machine, and you can edit with your terminal only. So you will create a file over there and you can execute it. Okay, so editor is actually used for writing your programs. Okay, so when you write the programs, you generally save that program with your .c file. So your program will be something saved like program name .c. Okay, you need to save this file in the form of .c extension only. So your program name can be anything. Okay, so you can give any programming name, that is your choice. So you have to use that programming name and you will give that extension as C. Then the program will be saved by the help of a text editor. And after saving this file is generally called the source file. Okay, this is called the source file, right? Okay, so you have written the program. Now the next step is you have to execute it. So you cannot directly execute that program. First of all, you need to check whether your program, which is in the .c extension, is correct or not. Means, have you followed all the rules and regulation of any C programming standard or not? What is C programming standard? That we have already discussed. So there are several standards available: C89, C99, C11, C18. So there are several standards. So all have their syntax and rules for writing that programming language. So you need to check whether you have written the program in the syntax, in the form of, whether you have followed all the rules and regulations or not. Okay, that's why you need a compiler. So what is a compiler? The compiler is generally checking the program code you have already written using any editor. Then he will check whether any error present in your program code or not. Okay, so if there is no program code exist in your program, then he will convert that code into something called machine understandable language. Okay, so if your program name, let's say abc.c, okay, suppose you have given the program name as abc.c, then after compilation it will convert it into machine form, and the program name is now converted into abc.obj. Here obj stands for object code. Okay, so a C code is automatically converted into a OBJ code after the compilation process is over. Right? I hope you understand what is going on after compilation. Then the next step in your process flow, means execution flow, will be the linking part. Sorry. So the linking part, which is shown over here, you have to go through the linking, and there is a library. So let me explain you what is this linking process done. Now first questions come into your mind is, why is linking necessary? Okay, so the main reason is that many compiled languages come with library routines. So library routines means the library functions which are pre-built, which are already there in the after installation of the compiler, the library functions are already there in the computer. Then you need to, whenever you use something from the library, you need to link it properly with your program code. Okay, so you need to add this library to your program. Okay, these routines are written by manufacturer of the compiler to perform variety of tasks, from input output to complicated mathematical functions, right? So this particularly library functions which was already been developed, that was when you install a compiler, automatically this library function is installed into your machine, and when you, after writing the code, you need to link this library to your program. So which library you should include? You include those libraries whose function is actually used inside your program. Means some library function generally we use to write our program code. Like in the previous class I have shown you that printf is a function. This is a library function whose definition is already present in the library, and where it is present inside the stdio.h folder. This is a header file. So this is sometimes called header file or preprocessor directive. This preprocessor directive means the content of this directory or the functions present inside the directory is already executed, and these functions are already provided when you are installing a compiler into your computer. Okay, so when you write a program here and you have used printf, scanf, some functions over here, those functions are generally present in these libraries. So you need to link those libraries to your program code. Fine. So when you link it, this library function, when it will be linked to your obj code, this is going to be converted into abc.exe file. So exe stands for your executable file. Now everything is done. That means first of all you have to write the code using a text editor. Then you pass that code through a compiler. The compiler will convert that source code to its object code. Object code is a machine level code. This machine level code can only understood by your computer architecture. Then this machine level code need to be linked to the library. So library contains some previously developed functions. Those functions need to be linked to your program. After you do that, you will get your abc.exe file or .exe file, whatever the program file name, that is immaterial, but you will get a .exe file. Now that exe file can easily be executed by your computer directly. So a runner, what he will do, he will execute your program, and if your program contains some input, then you have to provide that input, then the program will produce some output. Okay, so this is how the flow works, and we have already tested it using VS Code, as well as after installing the min.gw I have also shown you how to execute a C program. So you need to follow those three lectures, that is 4, 5, 6. Then you read this one, then you can easily understand the complete process of writing a program, how to execute everything I have explained in proper manner. So I hope you understand the concept behind the execution of a C program. And that's all for the today's class. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.